Orin is an orange alien-like creature with 2 antennae and a combed crest. He wears light orange headphones, so that his ears are not deafened by the strong sound he makes. It has also been proven that Orin and Pinky are dating. Orin made the first confession of Pinky's love. Pinky also liked Orin because he was very cool. His musical type is a percussion drum. The appearance of Orin in the horror version does not change much. He gets wounds on his body. He makes a gurgling sound, and the tuft of hair becomes less noticeable. Reddy is a red sprunky with 5 dark red horns on his head. Reddy's expression seems annoyed. He loves watching sports on TV, and he is also one of the fastest runners among all the sprunkies along with Simon. It makes sounds similar to the sound of a snare drum. In the horror version, Reddy is missing half of his face and torso. There doesn't seem to be an angry expression on his face anymore. These are the sounds he makes in the horror version. Kluker has gray skin and an antenna with 2 hooks on the end, and he has a silver plate on top of his head. And he seems to be looking at her. It is also proven that Kluker created the Fanbot and Mr. Fun computer together with Garnold. Another fact is that the antenna in his terrible shape is longer, which may mean that the antenna goes through his entire head, or perhaps even through most of his body. He makes sounds like banging on a cymbal, that's how it sounds. In the horror version, his antenna appears to be higher, although this may simply be due to the fact that most of his face has disappeared. The top half of his head is missing. These are the sounds he makes in the horror version. The Fanbot is a robot with blue eyes, a silver head and body, a golden visor with a black screen, and 2 light yellow antennas with golden circles at the ends. It was created by Garnold and Kluker, as well as Mr. Funny Computer. He, Gray, and Jevin are the only sprunks who have been almost unaffected by the horror regime. The Fanbot makes amen break sounds, that's how it sounds. In the horror version, little has changed in it, as in Gray and Jevin. Although in his usual state, instead of smiling, he frowns. These are the sounds he makes in the horror version. Vineria looks like a green figure with 1 dark green horn and flowering vines on its head that resemble hair. It has been proven that the plant has grown inside her in her terrible form. The hair she has is not really real, it's a wig. She makes a kabasa-like sound, that's how it sounds. In the horror version, the vines on her head have rotted and are no longer blooming, which makes them look more like carelessly braided braids. Plant-like appendages protrude from Vineria's eye sockets, resembling her horn, and these are the sounds she makes. Gray is a gray creature with slightly darker gray cat ears. He has black tucked dark gray eyelids and eyebrows. He has a straight mouth and 3 freckles on each cheek. He looks like a cat in some ways. An interesting fact is that Venda and Gray are not related. Although their relationship is unclear, Venda and Gray have no romantic interest in each other. The creator stated that he did not like the fan relationship between Gray and Venda, and he would never make them canonical. That's how friends are. Gray makes a sound like this. In the horror version, Gray looks almost the same as his regular version, except that he is darker. He has no contours except around the eyes, which are replaced by detailed gradients. And his facial expression is more wary, scared. Ears are lowered. An interesting fact is that Gray is the main character of the horror mode, and Simon is the main character of the regular mode. And these are the sounds she makes. Brood has a bucket on his head. There's a lump on the top of his head under the bucket. Brood was bitten by Simon. He carries a bucket to hide the thorn on his head. Although he was bitten, he feels no pain and is still alive. Brood is one of the survivors, along with Gray, Venda, Fanbot, Kevin, Pinky, and Mr. Fan Computer. He eats moss when he's alone. Brood can speak, but not in complete sentences. Even initially, the developers wanted Brood to have acid on his face. That's the sound Brood makes. In the horror version, as I said earlier, Brood was bitten by Simon. Because of this, he is missing a part of his head in the upper left part. Brood doesn't have a bucket and a head. His ribs are visible, and these are the sounds she makes. Garnold appears in a gold suit with a gold and black visor. The facts are that Garnold and Kluker are not related. If you remove his visor and vector, you will see a normal face and eyes, unlike Fanbot. It's easy to check because in his horror form you can see his eye through the broken glass in his helmet. In addition, in his terrible form, his left eye, covered with a visor, is perfectly healthy. Garnold is the creator's least favorite character because he ran out of ideas for his voice acting and design. In the new update, Garnold's usual voice has become a little quieter. Most likely, this is due to the fact that he and Simon had the same parameters on the same synthesizer. That's the sound he makes. In the horror version, it was confirmed that Garnold was locked in a suit. In other words, his suit crushed him alive. His visor is broken and his eye is visible, from the place where his mouth is supposed to be. And these are the sounds she makes. He can be called either Lime or OAC-CX. Interesting facts. He is the only character in SPRUNKI whose official name is written in capital letters. Unlike the rest of the characters, he and Gray still have the outlines of eyes in their terrible forms. Another terrible fact is that he was released or he escaped from a psychiatric hospital. And now let's hear what sounds he makes. In the horror version, Lime is supposedly inspired by the injury that Nutty, the character of the Friends of the Happy Tree, receives in the episode ICU, and these are the sounds she makes. Sky is a blue character with round bear, shaped ears, and a tuft. The facts about Sky: Sky is 14 years old, and he is the only one from Sprunka who is not yet 18. This also makes him the youngest among other Sprunks, as confirmed by Nyunko Beef Lol. Despite this, he has an average Sprunk height. Sky collects teddy bears. He has the shortest name, consisting of only 3 letters. Normally, his music is synchronized with Gray's bass. Despite the fact that it is an effect, its sound is more like a melody, which is the opposite of Derpal. These are the sounds Sky makes. In the horror version, Sky seems to be pierced by 4 rods, and these are the sounds she makes. It looks like a sun with 8 orange spikes-like flashes, as well as a yellow circle with a happy face. Interesting facts. Like Orin and Reddy, he is based on a character from a series inspired by the sun from The Amazing World of Gamble. Mr. Sun makes piano sounds, that's how it sounds. In the horror version, he looks the same as before, only darker to match the horror style, and his face has turned into a giant eye. Interesting facts. Mr. Sun's gaze syncs with Mr. Funny Computer in horror mode when Mr. Funny Computer says, "Look around." Mr. Sun, like Mr. Tree, are a completely different species compared to other Sprunkies. That's how it sounds in the horror version. Derpal is a purple dragon with 2 long, dark purple horns on its head and 2 dark purple fin, shaped ears on both sides of its head. Interesting facts about Derpal: Reddy and Derpal are not related. He's Simon's best friend. His favorite color is purple. He makes the sound of a brass and string orchestra, that's how it sounds. In the horror version, Derpal is similar to his usual version, but with a darker shade of horror. Derpal matches the sound of Mr. Tree as in the horror version, although you may hear Derpal more often than Mr. Tree. That's how it sounds in the horror version. Mr. Tree looks like a cartoon tree with bright green leaves and a brown trunk and a happy face. Facts about Mr. Tree: Mr. 3 is over 50 years old. He can move, but it will take some time. He makes the sound of an organ musical instrument, that's how it sounds. In the horror version of Mr. The Tree is a variant of its usual grayscale shape with a poster of an unknown woman. In horror mode, the old Mr. 3 sound is perfectly synchronized with the Derpal pipe. That's how it sounds in the horror version. Simon is a yellow creature with 2 cone-shaped horns on both sides of his head, 2 straight antennae, and a tuft on top of his head. His mouth smiles slightly. Facts about Simon. Simon and Orin are not related, but good friends. He makes noises. An 8-bit synthesizer, that's how it sounds. In the horror version, Simon's appearance is mostly similar to his usual appearance, but his color has noticeably dimmed and darkened. The horror version of Simon could get a new design. This is due to the fact that Simon looks more stupid than scary, but a recent survey confirmed that Simon most likely will not receive an updated design, mainly due to the cancellation of the mod. That's how it sounds in the horror version. Tanner has a calm expression, a brown fedora hat, and 4 sideburns hanging down on each side of his face. The sideburns are actually ears, and he has 2 pairs of them on each side. Tanner has 4 ears in total. He makes a sound, whistling, that's how it sounds. In the horror version, Tanner has a hole in his hat. Most likely someone shot him with a gun. That's how it sounds in the horror version. Mr. Fun Computer is a computer that turns red while standing on a brown table with a lone cable hanging under it. Mr. Fun Computer is the smallest character in the game, except for the table with his body. He makes a sound like that. In the horror version, Mr. Fun Computer has a scary face image on the screen. That's how it sounds in the horror version. Venda looks very much like a cat. Venda does purr, but according to the creator, this happens very rarely. These are the sounds she makes. In the horror version, Venda has a very sinister smile and blood on her body. Maybe she is someone, or just stood there. That's how it sounds in the horror version. Pinky is a pink bunny-like sprunky with a purple bow on her head. She also has purple eyelids. Pinky and Vineria are close friends. These are the sounds she makes. In the horror version, Pinky's face is torn apart. This wound was inflicted by Venda, who tore off her face. That's how it sounds in the horror version. Jevin appears as a blue character in a dark blue robe. You will never see how Kevin smiles, despite the fact that he is kind and knows how to smile. These are the sounds he makes. In the horror version, Jevin's appearance has not changed much, just his face has become darker. But these are the sounds he makes in horror mode. He is a completely black sprunky with no visible mouth, wearing a top hat of the same color as his body, and with a white tie. He is also the most secretive character of all the sprunks. He is the only original character who does not appear in normal mode, as his placement instantly puts you in horror mode. Black is the only character without an official name. It looks like a sprunky without any noticeable accessories. He is slightly taller and slimmer than others sprunky. He has a noticeably more distorted, human-like face, which is hidden in darkness and shown only in black and white. Black's old sprite had eyes under his face, which means that his old sprite was created based on an even older sprite that can be seen in the gallery section. That's how it sounds in the horror version.